Good afternoon and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. Ms. DeMarzo, can you please take roll?
Assembly Member Anderson. Present. Carter.
Present.
Cole.
Here.
Hardy.
Here.
Howdigi.
Here.
Kasama.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Monroe Moreno.
Here.
O'Neill.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Torres Fawcett.
Here.
Yeager. Urick. And Chair Marzola.
And I am here. Please mark Speaker Yeager present when he arrives. Welcome everyone that is here with us in Carson City, everyone in Las Vegas, and anyone listening to us over the internet. Today we will hear two bills, Assembly Bill 93 and Assembly Bill 169. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping announcements. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which is listed in the agenda. When testifying, please turn the microphone on to speak and off to listen. If you have handouts for the committee, please provide 20 copies to the committee secretary prior to your testimony. Committee information is available on the legislature's website. You may also watch our meetings on the legislature's YouTube. We ask that public comment be kept to 2 minutes so that everyone can be accommodated. Finally, please remember to put all of your electronic devices, especially your cell phones, on silent mode. With that, we will move to our first agenda item. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 93. This measure revises provisions relating to public employee. Assemblymember Hibbets, you may begin when you're ready. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I am Brian Hibbets, B-R-I-A-N-H-I-B-B-E-T-T-S, and I have the honor of representing Assembly District 13. I am the sponsor of Assembly Bill 93, which revises the definition of police officer to include all Category 1 peace officers, juvenile probation officers, bailiffs, and deputy marshals, amongst others, of municipal courts for certain benefits under the Nevada Occupational Diseases Act. Last legislative session, I introduced AB 301, which is identical to AB 93. The measure was passed by the Assembly in the final days of the legislative session, but unfortunately did not receive a hearing in the Senate. What we were talking about is called the Heart and Lung Law in the state of Nevada. There are laws that cover this across the United States in just about every jurisdiction. It is widely known and widely understood that police and firefighters suffer disease of the heart and lung at a much greater rate than the average population does. Why that is, not a lot of people can tell you, and those who can tell you are probably just guessing. Nonetheless, it happens. Jurisdictions across the country have deemed it necessary to say that if you were a police officer or firefighter under certain circumstances, and you develop one of these diseases, then it is automatically presumed to be work-related. However, not all police are covered under this protection. As I stated to this committee 2 years ago, Justice Court and the State District Court bailiffs and deputy marshals are covered. However, the city municipal bailiffs and deputy marshals who work in the same building and do the same job are not covered by this protection. School police officers and juvenile probation officers are also not protected. However, university police and adult probation officers are. Assembly Bill 93 would provide parity for these first responders. I would now like to turn it over to Mr. McCann, who will provide additional information to the committee.
Good morning, afternoon, one of those, Madam Chair. Members of the committee and staff, my name is Rick McCann, M-C-C-A-N-N, for the record, and I am here today representing the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers and the Nevada Law Enforcement Coalition to support and help you present AB 93. First, I wish to thank Assemblyman Hibbets, Assemblyman De Silva, Assemblyman Urick, and Senator Doñate for their co- and joint sponsorships of this bill. We had joint and co-sponsorships last session. We have them again. It's a good policy, and we'll see if we can get through it real quickly here for you. In general, existing law, which is NRS 617.455, states that a disease of the lungs is conclusively presumed to have arisen in the course of the employment of a police officer, firefighter, or arson investigator who has been employed full-time in a continuous, uninterrupted position for at least 2 years. Similarly, NRS 617.457 makes that same opportunity available for people who have diseases of the heart. So we have affectionately started to call this the heart-lung bill. Some of you already know that. Currently, NRS 617.135, around which this AB 93 revolves, defines a police officer to include about 36, if you sit and count them up, about 36 different job descriptions to which the heart-lung benefits apply. Got a whole bunch of people to whom it apply, but we're here talking about some of the ones it does not apply to. Section 1 of this AB 93 seeks to add, as Assemblyman Hibbett said, a school police officer employed by the Board of Trustees of a school district, a juvenile probation officer, a bailiff or a deputy marshal of a municipal court, a marshal or deputy marshal of a city or town, and any other Category 1 peace officer that has unrestricted duties throughout the state. This makes sense. The job duties of the officers in these additional classifications we're here to talk about often require them to be exposed to the same environments and the same elements that their brother and sister law enforcement officers are exposed to in their various lines of work. In fact, if you look at subsection M, as in Mary, on page 3 of the bill, parole and probation officers of the Division of Parole and Probation of the State Department of Public Safety are covered for heart-lung benefits. So why not juvenile probation officers who deal with many of the same environments and conditions as adult probation officers who are themselves covered? How does walking into an adult's home to check on your subjects or do an investigation somehow expose you to more risks than walking into a house full of adults just because your person you're looking at is a juvenile? Makes no sense. Look at subsection A on page 2 of the bill. It covers a sheriff, county, deputy sheriff, officer of a metropolitan police department, or, as it says, a city police officer. So why not a marshal or a deputy marshal and school police officers who interact and engage with the same public, carry weapons, make arrests, just like other police officers who are already covered? Marshals and deputy marshals are city police officers. They all undergo annual heart-lung exams, so why shouldn't we be adding them to the heart-lung coverage? Look at subsection J on the top of page 3 of the bill. It covers police officers from the Nevada system of higher education. So again, why not school police officers who are under the control of the boards of trustees and school districts in our state? What's the difference? There isn't. Don't get me wrong, we're not trying to merely say, well, why not me? They have it, why not me? We're not doing that. We're looking at these people and comparing them favorably to groups that are already covered. We simply offer these different job descriptions as comparisons to show you the breadth of who is currently covered. These other groups we're talking about now are truly in need of this heart-lung benefit, just like their law enforcement brethren. There is absolutely no credible reason why they do not qualify as much as the other categories that are currently set forth in NRS 617.135. They can suffer the same health effects, including death, as their fellow law enforcement officers for doing essentially the same jobs. It's time that they receive this benefit. And for these reasons, we ask you to support AB 93. Thank you for the privilege of your time.
Brian Hibbets for the record. One thing I would like to add to the bill summary is Section 2 is clarifying language, and it is a legal way of saying that no matter what DPS calls its peace officers, they're still covered. In this particular statute, they're referred to as Nevada Highway Patrol. As you know, relatively recently, they changed their name or a portion of their name to State Police. This is just clarifying that it's the same agency and they're still covered. I would just like to add, as a retired police officer, I can tell you that I went through more experiences that affected my heart and lungs than I care to remember, from the adrenaline ups and downs to having to eat fast food on a nightly basis because that was the only thing available, to running into active meth labs to rescue children. I'm amazed that I'm sitting here without an oxygen tank, but I had the comfort of knowing I had this benefit if something ever happened to me. In closing, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present AB 93. I urge your support of this important legislation, and I would be happy to answer any questions you or the committee may have.
Thank you for your presentation, and I do remember this bill from last session, so thank you for bringing it back. Committee members, are there any questions? Assemblymember Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question, yes, I do remember this bill, voted for this bill. Can you tell members that weren't on this committee last session what happened, why the bill did not move forward?
Brian Hibbets for the record. This bill was passed out of the Assembly with 2 days left before sine die, and it went to Senate Finance where bills go to die. I am confident this time that...
Boy, as the chair of Ways and Means, that hurt.
As I said, Brian Hibbets for the record, as I said, Ways and Means Chair, Senate Finance, not Assembly Ways and Means, because we did pass it through Assembly Ways and Means with absolutely no problems, and I appreciate that. I am more hopeful this time simply because we are hearing it earlier in the session, and I also have a senator on board as a co-sponsor.
Thank you.
Assemblymember Urick.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblyman, for bringing this bill back. I believe that it is a prior law enforcement officer. I also see it as a very necessary change. I don't know if it was in prior conversations that perhaps we had, or Mr. McCann, if you can kind of explain, but as I remember either from last session or in conversations, one of the challenges with this is a firefighter by any other name is a firefighter. One of the challenges for law enforcement or police officer is they come by many titles. It's a sheriff, it's a police officer, it's a marshal, it's a bailiff. And so all these different titles, it seems, as I looked at the statute, seem to have just evolved over the years to include your most recent example of Nevada Highway Patrol being changed to a state police officer. That it seems like this inclusion of 289, which has its own definition and specific idea of what a police officer is, limiting to that is going to prevent us from having to continue to revisit this issue year after year after year to accommodate all the name changes and things that relate to the title police officer. So can you just perhaps maybe explain that and help us understand a little bit better?
Rick McCann for the record. Thank you for the question. Through the chair.
You can go direct.
Thank you. Yeah, you make a very good point, Assemblymember, whatever, Urick. A firefighter by any other name is a firefighter. They even have calendars with their pictures on them. I mean, it's cool. We all know them. They're hose draggers. There's none of them in here to take exception. However, law enforcement, yeah, they change their identities a lot. Maybe it's to protect the innocent, I don't know. But the bottom line is cops are not always cops. And we have to go through this a lot. It's not just for heart-lung. We have other issues that I deal with every session for labor, because I represent law enforcement all around the state. And people in the northern areas, they call them differently. We have police officers, but we also have corrections officers. We also have people who are deputy sheriffs. We have marshals. We have bailiffs. We have Tom, Dick, and Harry's. We got everybody. And I think there's going to have to be an attempt someday, probably through LCB, to bring all of the definitions of what is truly a law enforcement officer together to make it one. We do have lots of statutes where you may see at the end, police officer, quote unquote, is it accepts the definition as that which is provided in NRS 289 point whatever it is. That's fine, but even that sometimes causes some problems. So I'm glad that the Assemblyman Hibbets brought it up, even with some changes recently in terms of a particular agency, what they call their people. Now all of a sudden, if you don't see them in here, suddenly I guess it doesn't apply. Well, that's why Category 1 officers for the state were put in there in kind of a holistic way to bring everybody, no matter what you call them, into this bill. That answers your question, sir.
Assemblyman Carter.
Thank you. Yeah, and it kind of ties into that. Are tribal police covered under this act now?
Brian Hibbets for the record. That is a more complex issue because I don't believe, even though they are certified as state peace officers, they are not employed by the state or a local agency. They're employed by the tribes themselves. So I don't believe that they are covered by this based on being employed by the tribes. I could be wrong about that. I'm not an expert in that particular field.
Committee members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Monroe Moreno.
Your response prompted a thought. Would it be easier just to simply put those employed in positions that require Category 1, Category 2, or Category 3 post-certification? And it doesn't matter what the positions are, as long as they have that post-certification under one of those categories, they would be covered.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you. I appreciate that. And as I've previously testified in front of this committee, that would be the ultimate goal. However, there are certain Category 2 classifications that I don't believe the employers would necessarily go for that. If I can, NRS 289.470, Category 2, Peace Officer defined. Item number 15, security officers employed full-time by city or county whose official duties require them to carry weapons, make arrests. I don't know if the counties of our state would necessarily go for that. That is, if this committee would like to amend this bill to make it Category 1, 2, and 3, I would absolutely consider that a friendly amendment. And by the way, speaking of amendments, there was one amendment that I have not submitted yet that I will be submitting, just for your information. That is the effective date, and that was my fault when I was working at the LCB. I forgot to notice it. It should be July 1st of 26, simply so that the jurisdictions have the time and ability to budget for it, and it actually falls on a fiscal year.
If I may, ma'am, Rick McCann for the record, to add to what Assemblyman Hibbets just said, it is Category 2 that causes the most consternation. Category 1s are the guys that do everything. They get the most training, they can do everything. They can even be corrections officers, they can do everything. They're the heart surgeon who can do the chiropractic back cracks. But not all the chiropractic back cracks can do heart surgery. And we have Category 3, which are traditionally corrections officers. 1 and 3 seem to be pretty well defined. 2, there are the problems, and I represent a lot of those 2s, and not all of them are within the category of current definition for Category 2 officers. So even if we did just 1, 2, and 3 were done, we still have to work with 2.
Vice Chair Howdigi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Do you guys happen to know how many people currently this would impact? I remember the bill last session, and I don't remember if I asked this question or not, but how many people aren't in their right classification that should be?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Are you asking for a total number or a total number of
Yeah, just a total number, how many, if this bill passes, gets signed by the governor, how many people would now be reclassified? What's that new population? That new number?
Brian Hibbets for the record. I do not have a total number. I can go through some of the notes that I've gotten from various jurisdictions listed out. Some of them do not.
Yeah, it's okay. I was just curious, and if I could have a follow-up, Madam Chair. And just one more question. Would this impact their, I know it's going to impact their benefits. They would now be eligible for heart and lung. Would this also impact their pay in any way?
Brian Hibbets for the record. It would not impact that at all in any way.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. So we will give you a couple of seconds. We will now hear testimony in support of Assembly Bill 93. We will start in Carson City. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You each have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, Nathaniel Waugh, Nathaniel, WAUGH from the Clark County School District, and we strongly support this bill. Our police officers are fully certified Category 1 peace officers tasked with ensuring the safety of our students, staff, and campuses. They respond to emergencies, enforce the law, and protect our schools. However, despite performing these critical duties, school police officers have historically been excluded from certain health and workplace protections afforded to other law enforcement personnel. This corrects this by extending industrial insurance coverage, disability compensation, and survivor benefits to our officers. This legislation is essential for equity and fairness by ensuring our officers receive the same benefits and recognition as other law enforcement professionals. We can better support those who dedicate their careers to keeping our schools safe. We urge your support of AB 93 to honor and protect our school police officers, the frontline defenders of student and staff safety. Thank you.
Chair Marzola, members of the committee, my name is Spencer Flanders, that's spelled S-P-E-N-C-R, F-L-A-N-D-E-R-S. I'm with Tri-Strategies representing the Nevada Police Union today. Chair, with permission, I'd like to read a statement from the Nevada Police Union. Awesome, thank you. The Nevada Police Union, as a member of the Public Safety Alliance, strongly supports Assembly Bill 193 in its efforts to clarify and expand the definition of police officers. This would ensure fairness and recognition of benefits for a broader range of dedicated law enforcement professionals serving Nevada's communities by including police officers, juvenile operation officers, bailiffs, deputy marshals, and marshals, all part of the Category 1 police officers under the police officer designation. This bill would rightfully acknowledge their crucial roles in public safety. These professions face risks and challenges similar to those of traditional police officers, and extending insurance coverage, temporary disability compensation, juror exemptions, survivor benefits, and other exterior. Additionally, affirming that Department of Public Safety and Capitol Police employees retain their status as police officers, regardless of the designations, ensuring consistency and protects the rightful benefits under the Nevada Occupational and Disease Act. We urge you to swiftly pass this legislation to honor the service and sacrifice to all those who are police officers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Randy Robinson, Director of Government Affairs for the City of Las Vegas, here to support this particular measure. Public safety remains a top priority for our council. Our city marshals perform those services every day to keep our communities safe. We believe this would be a great benefit for them and help us not only with their morale, but also keep us competitive from a recruitment point of view as well. So thank you.
Can you turn on your mic? Thank you.
Apologies. Good afternoon, Assembly members. My name is Sean McVickers. I'm the president of the Washoe County District Attorney Investigators Association. I come to you today in support of AB 93. I have been a sworn peace officer in the state of Nevada since 2006. I spent 13 years as a deputy, a detective, and a sergeant at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I've also worked as a Washoe County Alternative Sentencing Officer, as well as a Washoe County District Attorney Investigator, which is my current position. As you can see, I've been fortunate to work in a variety of law enforcement assignments throughout my career. My experiences as a law enforcement officer has taught me that no matter the color of the uniform a peace officer is wearing, the badge they happen to carry, or what is printed on the front of their ballistic vest, the work conditions, the environments, and the stressors of this profession do not change. That is why, despite this current bill, unfortunately not including the sworn DA investigators I represent, we still strongly support AB 93 in the addition of our fellow peace officers into this law. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Committee. My name is Zach Bucher. I am the Government Affairs Manager for the great city of North Las Vegas. Pleasure to be here. In support of this bill, would like to thank Assembly Member Hibbets for bringing it again, fighting the good fight. Hopefully we can get it over the line this time. At the end of the day, I believe this is just about fairness. We can't ask certain people to do the same thing but not receive the same benefits. Heaven forbid they will ever need these benefits, but if they do, let's be there for them like they've been there for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify? Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support to Assembly Bill 93? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line? I spoke too fast. Welcome. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Eppinger, K-E-V-I-N, Eppinger, E-P-P-E-N-G-E-R. I'm the president of the Juvenile Justice Probation Officers Association. I've been working in the Juvenile Probation Department as a juvenile probation officer for the past 28 years. I'm here to support and speak in behalf of AB 93. Just a little bit about our profession. We deal with the youth, which we all know are complex members of our society who have a host of issues. In our daily routine of managing and helping those youth and their families, we encounter a lot of stressful situations, which we carry. Oftentimes we have to deal with the constraints of time. We take on post-secondary trauma when we deal with these youth. And as you're aware, the youth are becoming more and more like adults within their behaviors. I think it's in the spirit of fairness. It's good for us to have equitable coverage with this industrial insurance, so that officers can maintain good health, get the regular screenings as necessary, to make sure that we maintain good health. That's another portion of the bill. It's just not something where it's going to be it's going to be reactionary in nature. It's going to be proaction in nature as well, where officers will be required to get the screenings and to make sure that if there are any stressful situations that come, they're able to hopefully have those addressed before they become too problematic. Appreciate your time. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak. And we do appreciate your support for AB 93. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerrell Roberts, Jerrell, middle initial Roberts, Roberts. I am a juvenile probation officer as well as a practicing attorney. Cold blue. The chilling urgency in my fellow officer's voice over the radio sends a jolt through my body. And in that moment, I don't have time to think, only act. I spring from my chair, springing from my life, depending on it, 100 yards. My heart pounding as I prepare to break up an attack between three youth. You see, in these chaotic situations, in these seconds, I have to be everything: protector, mediator, and guardian, ensuring that one youth isn't seriously hurt while also keeping myself and my partner safe. You see, this is my reality every day as a juvenile probation officer in detention. And from that moment I step on shift, my heart rate is elevated, adrenaline coursing through my veins, always on edge, always ready. I spend my entire day working to provide mentorship, structure, and rehabilitation to these youth. But I can never let my guard down. You see, I don't get to turn it off. And the science tells us, the data shows us, that staying at the state of heightened alertness day in and day out takes a serious toll on your body, leading to long-term heart and health issues. You see, this is my reality. We are the first responders inside the walls of detention. We are the difference between a safe facility and a chaotic one. And we need the same recognition and protections as other law enforcement professionals. We ask you to support this bill, not just for us, but for the safety, the security, and the well-being of the youth we are sworn to protect. Thank you.
Justice Services for approximately 21 years. I am a Category 2 post-certified officer. I do support, and I ask for your support in the AB 93 Heart and Lung Bill. We need to understand what we as probation officers do. We are Category 2 post-certified. We work with youth in detention where we come in contact with various bloodborne and airborne pathogens daily. We transport youth who have infectious diseases that could expose us to harmful pathogens. We conduct home visits and arrests daily in highly dangerous situations where we are all exposed to various different types of drugs and chemicals and biohazards, including bodily fluids inside homes that we enter. We very often work with very aggressive and hostile youth and families, which puts continuous strain, stress, and anxiety on our mental and physical self. We work in a continuous heightened state of alert and awareness. This is where we maintain high stress levels throughout our careers, and over time, that constant stress can affect our bodies, including our cardiovascular system. We are often sleep deprived, worked overtime, and work various shifts unnatural to the body. The Clark County application itself, online, states that we may be subject to exposure to bloodborne and airborne disease. I take this to mean that the county does acknowledge and recognize and understands the risks associated with our profession and warns us at the start of the application, even when we apply. The state last time attempted to defend not providing the heart and lung benefit when we got toward the end because we would be covered under workers' comp injury benefits. If you understand how workers' comp benefits, it only covers injuries sustained on the job in a situation and provides treatment short-term, enough to get you up and on the road to recovery and back to work. Workers' comp insurance does not cover long-term health issues that arise from being on the job over time. Workers' comp insurance would have to deny law enforcement officers benefits and treatment to the officer if they would have to jump through hoops to provide that their heart or lung condition was sustained due to the job. Anyone who's ever been ill or had a family member that is very ill, you understand that they're not capable or might not have the time or strength to take on a fight with workers' comp to get the health and benefits and treatment that they need. It focuses, the Heart and Lung Bill focuses on helping law enforcement, the one that has placed on his life on the line, protecting the community and working with families in a position to get help and assistance long-term for just very specific critical illnesses and diagnosis. So today I want to ask, and I'd like to believe that the State Assembly supports all law enforcement officers and wants to provide this benefit to juvenile probation officers after understanding that our daily functions fit the criteria of law enforcement officers within the state of Nevada. It's time we really should be looking to take care of officers that were deprived and left out of this bill decades ago. We ask that you support and provide us with the Heart and Lung Bill. We are officers that provide protection and care and custody of some of our most vulnerable, yet high-risk population, which are juvenile delinquents. There will always be a cost for services and benefits that take care of law enforcement, especially with the increase. Yeah?
Can you finalize your statement, please? I'm right here.
Yes, sure. I'm sorry, I can't see.
No need to apologize. And then once you finalize, can you please state and spell your name for the record? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So there will always be a cost for services and benefits that take care of law enforcement, especially with the increase in ways we must deal with violence, caseload, and community contacting technology. But we absolutely cannot look at this cost of enacting this bill as putting a strain on our financial budget. We have to rise above that and think in a more progressive light. So I'm asking you to support AB 93. My name is Jessica Delgado. Spell that Jessica, Delgado, Delgado.
Thank you, and thank you for being with us. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much.
Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Hernan Arroyo, HernanArroyo. I'm currently 27 years into working as a juvenile probation officer too, down in juvenile detention and also in the field of Clark County Juvenile Justice Services. To elaborate with my colleagues, everything that everyone has said today, absolutely. This is more on a personal level. I acquired tuberculosis about 15 years ago. I had to be on rifampicin for 6 months in order for me not to affect my family, which I have 2 daughters and a wife who also works in juvenile probation. So by taking those drugs so that I cannot affect it, I could only feel for my other officers that have been affected that unfortunately aren't here to give their testimony. But I just wanted to say that I greatly appreciate Assemblyman Hibbett's to bring back this bill. I was here 2 years ago talking about it as well. I'm still here, thank God. But I hope that you all will pass so it can get to the next step and the next step and the next step and hopefully get finalized. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being with us today. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 93, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press star 9. Caller with the last 3 digits 024. You are unmuted and you may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Houston, Justin, Houston, Houston. I'd like to quickly say that we often work day to day with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We also recently accepted several lateral transfers that are covered right now that now came into our profession and work with us. So it just shows that that a Category 2 should be covered under this under the law. We also are aware of the stress and stressors we have daily as juvenile probation officers. For example, I have 2 youth on my caseload right now that are charged with murder. Daily, we see weapons on school property in the news. We as juvenile probation officers are often one of the very first to respond due to our relationship with the youth and the schools themselves. They often call us, the Clark County School District police officers call us, want us to respond, help us de-escalate the situation, be with the kids, help make a smooth transition for them to juvenile detention. We often feel the stress, just like the same officers that arrested them. We have ballistic vests. We have handcuffs. We are making arrests. And we should be covered under the same provisions. I'd like to ask that you include us in this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Assembly members. My name is Tina Cole. Last name is spelled Kohl. I'm the president of the Juvenile Justice Supervisors Association, and just wanted to express that we hope you support Assembly Bill 93. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair and esteemed Assembly members on this committee. My name is Jeff Allen. I'm with the North Las Vegas Police Officers Association. We represent over 300 men and women who are sworn officers of the North Las Vegas Police Department, and that includes 17 marshals. In about the next 6 months, that will rise to about 21 marshals. By the way, my name is spelled Jeffs, last name Allen. I urge that this Assembly Committee support and pass AB 93. Assemblyman Hibbets and Mr. McCann did a great job of outlining the rationale for AB 93. And explaining the gaps in coverage of the heart and lung bill for certain classifications of law enforcement officers. I would like to explain what our marshals who are currently not covered by the heart and lung bill do, and that is essentially all of the same tasks that our police officers do. They have the exact same training, they carry the same equipment, and in fact, every one of our 17 marshals is Category 1 post-certified. They encounter the same dangerous, stressful situations as other law enforcement officers that are covered under the heart and lung bill. Our marshals go out into the field and back up our police officers on dangerous calls. They ensure court safety. They have to interact with and transport dangerous criminal offenders. And one of the things that our marshals have historically done is perform door knocks to enforce judicial warrants, and that is an extremely dangerous task that they do. But the same exact rationale for why heart and lung protections are extended to a large swath of Nevada's law enforcement officers, that same rationale does apply to our marshals. And on that basis, I would urge this esteemed Assembly Committee to support it and pass AB 93. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. This is Andrew Regenbaum, Regenbaum. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak And I would respectfully like to incorporate what was eloquently stated by Assemblyman Hibbets and Mr. McCann, as well as all of the prior speakers in support of AB 93. I don't want to take much of your time. I just would like to emphasize that all of the officers mentioned in this bill are exposed to the same cardiac and respiratory issues as their brethren in adult law enforcement, P&P, and other patrol type situations. Therefore, I would respectfully request that all of you please support AB 93 as it moves forward. Thank you.
Chair, there are no more callers testifying in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 93. Is there anyone here in Las Vegas? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone? We started in Las Vegas, so let's move to Carson City now. I don't see anyone coming up in Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I still don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 93, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in opposition, please press star 9. Chair, we have no callers choosing to one moment. Caller, you are unmuted and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Matthew Caldwell. I tried to call in support and missed the deadline. Is it okay to still offer support of this bill?
We are in opposition, but you can go ahead. We'll move back to support. You have 2 minutes. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Thank you. Matthew Caldwell, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, Caldwell, C-A-L-D-W-E-L-L. I'm the president of the Police Officers Association for the Clark County School District Police Department. And just to get straight to the point, I appreciate everybody's support and thank you for your time. We strongly support this bill. Thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you for your testimony. We'll move back to testimony in opposition. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see any. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 93, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Assembly member, would you like to give any final remarks? You are nodding no. Thank you for being with us today. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 93. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 169. This measure requires that certain health insurance policies and health plans cover speech-language pathology for certain purposes. Welcome, Speaker Yeager. And guests, please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, Vice Chair Howdigi, members of the Commerce and Labor Committee. It is an honor to appear in front of you today. My name is Steve Yeager. I think you all know how to spell it, so I won't spell it. But I represent Assembly District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas, and I'm very pleased to present Assembly Bill 169 to you this afternoon. Now, you can see with me at the table, I have some folks to help present the bill and to answer questions. To my right, I have Michael Kidd Gilchrist. I'll tell you a little bit more about him later. We also have Miss Cheryl Larson, who is a speech-language pathologist who specializes in stuttering and has 33 years of expertise in the field. She's at the end there. She currently works at the University of Nevada, Reno in the speech pathology and audiology department. And we also have Esteban to tell you a little bit about his personal experience. This bill is relatively straightforward. I will tell you it looks long, but it's basically the same provisions that are repeated, I think, 7 or 8 times because we have multiple chapters in our statutes that cover different kinds of insurance. So really, it's a pretty short bill other than that. And what the bill does is it requires various forms of insurance to include treatment for stuttering for kids and precludes, 1, setting a limit on the number of annual visits to a speech-language pathologist, and number 2, limiting the benefits based on the cause of stuttering, and then number 3, subjecting the benefits to medical management techniques. And there are some definitions there. I think those are pretty straightforward. This bill is meant to apply to both private and public health insurance, so it'll apply to the private marketplace as well as to state Medicaid. I won't go through all the different types of insurance plans that are covered, but if you're ever interested, you can go through and read all those different chapters and ask yourself why we have so many different chapters on health plans in our state. As is almost always the case, this bill is a work in progress. You might hear some opposition today. There have been some amendments proposed to me. I'm working through those, and I look forward to continued productive dialogue to make sure this bill accomplishes its objectives while accommodating any concerns that might still be out there. So let me tell you about the origin of this bill. Through the National Conference of State Legislatures, which, by the way, is a great organization, and you should all participate, I made a very good friend who was formerly a longtime state senator in the state of Kentucky. His name is Whitney Westerfield, and he was a longtime chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee out there. He recently had triplets and decided to exit legislative service, which is probably a good thing given his time constraints. But he reached out to me about this issue and asked if I was interested in introducing legislation on it, as he had worked on similar legislation in Kentucky. His bill passed and has become law, and similar legislation has also passed in Pennsylvania. Through that process, Senator Westerfield introduced me to the gentleman to my right, Michael Kidd Gilchrist. He really is the driving force behind the legislation, as you're going to hear in just a moment, and he inspired me to want to bring this legislation. Before I hand it over to Michael and then to our other guests at the table, I wanted to tell you a little bit briefly about his background. You might have noticed that he's very tall. I wish we could keep him for the basketball game. Michael won a college basketball national championship at the University of Kentucky in 2012, and he was the second overall pick in the 2012 NBA draft. Over his 8-year career in the NBA, he played for the Charlotte Bobcats, later known as the Hornets, and the Dallas Mavericks. He also had the pleasure or displeasure of playing in the NBA bubble back in 2020, which we talked a little bit about before we got here. That was during the pandemic. But Michael is also a person who stutters, and he has made this his passion, now that he's no longer playing in the NBA, to try to work on these issues across the country, and that really has inspired me. So I want to hand it over to Michael to tell you a little bit more about that, and then after our other presenters go, we'll be open for questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I am Michael Kidd Gilchrist, MICHAEL-KIDD-GILCHRIST. I want to thank y'all for just the for just the opportunity of being heard. If this it does pass, great, but as a individual who stutters, not just now I stutter, I have been stuttering my whole entire life, and I think for people who are a athlete, they kind of think of us as always having everything together. You know, we all have that thing that we go through, or like even deal with. I have been picked on, I have been teased on, and such like that my whole entire life, and also in my career. And I had made this my life. A purpose to help people like myself who have a stutter that are in urban communities and also, in also the rural communities as well, and I am honored and blessed to be here and, to advocate, so thank you.
Hello, Cheryl Larson, CHERYL, LARSON. Sorry, I should have said hello, members of the committee. So as you know, I'm Cheryl Larson, and I work at UNR, Go Wolfpack. And I strongly support this bill because it will ensure that children who stutter have access to the specialized speech-language therapy that they need. Stuttering is a healthcare issue, contrary to what insurance has in the past said. And it is a healthcare issue with the potential for significant adverse impacts on an individual's quality of life. Research supports that stuttering has a neurological basis, which justifies classifying it as a medical condition. And this neurophysiological difference affects our speech flow if you're a person who stutters. And then that resulting speech disruption has a ripple effect on daily interactions, emotional well-being, and self-perception. Decades ago, Dr. Joseph Sheenan compared stuttering to an iceberg. So that tip is the stutters that you hear. But below that, in deep waters, are the personal invisible struggles, that lived experience of being a person who stutters, such as negative reactions and feelings, that shame, the fear, embarrassment, worries, hopelessness, cognitive and psychological impacts, anxiety, avoidance, repetitive negative thoughts. So when unaddressed, these internal struggles can lead to broader consequences. Research is out there that highlights barriers to employment, workplace discrimination, financial hardship then, which would be a result, increased risk of social isolation, and unfortunately, there's also a connection between suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts, and suicide. So many students and adults, or many children and adults who stutter, have to forego treatment because of the costs, and insurance doesn't cover it. So, relying on school-based services isn't the go-to. I've been in the school. I have been in SLPs in the school districts and provided amazing service, but not everybody specializes in this field, in stuttering. For most folks out there practicing, they've had one class, maybe. Maybe it was only 2 weeks in the class, and that's it, and they haven't educated themselves further. And as I mentioned, that depth that we have to address when we're working with people who stutter. So if health insurance can cover occupational therapy, physical therapy, mental health therapy, why is it a far leap to have it cover speech-language therapy for something like this, for people who experience the world as a person who stutters? So I urge you to support AB 169, and I thank you for your time.
Alrighty. My name is Esteban Perez. You spell it Esteban. Last name Perez. Members of the committee, before I begin, I'd like to let you all know that I have a stutter. So if it takes a moment for me to get a word out, please be patient with me. If at any point you don't understand what I'm trying to say, please don't hesitate to ask. So as I said, my name is Esteban Perez, and I grew up in Elko, Nevada, and I currently live in Reno, where I'm pursuing a dual degree in secondary ed and math. I've had a stutter since I was a child, and it made growing up difficult. Even something simple as ordering food at McDonald's was hard. I would choose the simplest option so I did not have to stutter in front of people. I ate the same meal at McDonald's for almost 7 years. No one should have to go through what I had to experience, but unfortunately, many do. I choose to pursue a career in education to make an impact on my students, just like my teachers did for me. My stutter did not hold me back from my dreams, and it shouldn't for others either. That's why I am here. I support passing Bill 169, and even though this bill doesn't directly affect me, it would have a significant impact on future generations. I stopped receiving speech therapy once I got to high school, and have had to find ways to get help at an expensive cost. No one should have to face these challenges alone. The burden, the struggle, the feeling of being different. They can be overwhelming, but with the right support, it becomes a journey of resilience and empowerment. This bill represents hope and a chance for future generations to overcome their obstacles and achieve their dreams. It allows families to not stress on whether they can afford the help they need. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope you can all see the importance of this bill and how it can make a difference in the lives of many. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Madam Chair, for allowing, this is Steve Yeager for the record, for allowing us to present the bill. That is the entirety of our presentation, but we would certainly be open for any questions that the committee has about the bill or anything else you're interested in.
Thank you, Speaker, for bringing this bill. And before I pass it to the committee members that do have questions, I just want to thank you both. I know coming to a setting like this is already nerve-wracking, so I appreciate you coming in, telling your story, being an inspiration not only to us, but like you said, to the future generations. So thank you. With that, I will start with Vice Chair Howdigi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Esteban, for sharing your story, and thank you, Mr. Gilchrist, for sharing your celebrity, for using your celebrity to help, people throughout the country. That it's impactful. So thank you. I do have a question. In the remarks, it was talked about how this could be a barrier to employment, how it increases suicide rates amongst people with stutters. So why are we limiting coverage to just juveniles up to the age of 18? Because really this coverage should be available to everyone. Is it a cost reason? Do we know what those costs are? Or just because, again, it sounds like this coverage is needed for everyone?
Yeah, I might be the best to answer this. So Steve Yeager, for the record, it's an interesting question because Ms. Larson down here asked me that question earlier as well. Why are we limiting this to only 18-year-olds? And, I think that was just a decision that was made to try to come up with a bill that I think was kind of a compromise, to be quite candid. I mean, obviously somebody has to cover this and pay for it, right? And so we thought that starting with under 18 was a good start. Ideally, I would like to expand it to everybody, and hopefully that's something we might be able to do in a future legislative session, but just to try to get the ball rolling. And then I think, for me personally, and I think you heard it from Mr. Kidd Gilchrist, youth especially, the way that folks who are different are treated is just so, I mean, it's awful, right? Kids can be awful to one another in terms of making fun of them and feeling excluded. So we thought that that was a good place to start, realizing that hopefully in the future this is something we could expand even more generally as we continue to have conversations about the healthcare system in our state and the improvements that we can make. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I am Michael Kidd Gilchrist. I thought I had to say my name again. I'm sorry. Not following the rules. And you know, it is only, I think, one percent of our whole population. So you know, yeah.
So Cheryl Larson, for the record. So to add on what you were saying, that if people, usually when it comes to this is, there's costs involved with this and covering therapy, et cetera, et cetera. So we aren't talking about a huge population here. It can feel like a huge population, but the research out there says it's about 1%. So if you want to put that into, what's Nevada, 3 million? And so we're talking 30,000 people, give or take, right, in terms of childhood up to adult. And a lot of our children that stutter, it's going to start between the ages of 2 and 6. And 5 to 10% of those kids, it will remain in their life. And some actually naturally grow out of it. Probably for those of you who have had kids, maybe at the age of 4, you've heard some stutters, and then your pediatrician tells you, don't worry about it, ignore it, it will go away. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't go away for everybody, and ignoring it isn't helping that situation. But we're talking about 1% of the population who are people who live with stuttering. So we're not talking a large number of people. And I would be all on board for when that bill comes for having the adults. And I bet he'd be right there with me, right? And I have to say, so I'm going to speak from a university perspective. So once upon a time, universities were able to provide sliding scales, free services. That's what we did. And then for a host of reasons, university clinics have also had to then say, okay, we're taking insurance. So if we're taking insurance and we're taking Medicare and Medicaid, we can't cherry pick. We can't say, okay, Esteban, you get to pay a sliding fee, but you will take your Medicare, you will take your Medicaid. We can't do that. If we're taking insurance, then we take insurance. And historically, stuttering has not been seen as a medical necessity. Those are the magic words when you're trying to get things paid for in the medical model, right? And so then individuals who don't have that insurance coverage are stuck paying that high out-of-pocket, even with the cash discount fee at a lot of places. Even the old coveted, well, go to the university clinic to get free services. That's more of a thing of the past now, right? And so moving this to adults would be amazing. Thank you.
Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation and for coming and sharing your story with us. It's great to see fellow Wolfpack alum and professors here. Go Pack. And my specific question though is I'm wondering if you could tell me, I work in education as well, so I'm excited that you're going to be an educator. That's so important. And I'm just wondering, at what age is this this type of support most effective for Nevadans?
Okay, this is Cheryl Larson, for the record. So the earlier the better. There's research out of Austin, the University of Texas in Austin. They use something called the CARE approach. So it's focusing on strong communication, advocacy, resiliency, and education. And they're starting before 5. And their feeling is, okay, so what if that child happens to grow out of it? Have we done any harm by exposing them to the world of verbal diversity? Stuttering is simply another way of talking. And so we've created advocates for the field if it is something that they do grow out of. And I was there 2 summers ago for a summer camp program they did, and saw a 3-year-old get up at the campus there, right, at UT with a little microphone and say, I'll use my name, "I'm Cheryl Larson, I'm 3 years old, and I stutter. What do you want to know about it?" Right? And so their idea is if the earlier we start with the right approach, with evidence-based approach, so that we're not saying fluency is the only way of talking and stuttering is wrong, because that's been our history. That's what I learned. I graduated in '92, and I was more about you got to be fluent. And that creates trauma for a lot of individuals who live their life as a person who stutters. So the idea to start younger is that we prevent that iceberg from even happening. Right? So that's why I wanted to bring up that iceberg example, because if we can deal with those avoidance, all those socially emotional pieces early, they're not even there, right? They're living their life as a person who stutters, and it's simply another way of talking. So earlier the better.
Thank you. And Chair, obviously this is a big conversation too, because there's like that funding component, but I'm wondering if that funding could be extended until they're at least like 21, 25. The reason being because as a young adult, you might not have the flexibility to go get the support that you need. And if you don't have parents or guardians that are able to provide that transportation to those clinics, then you might not be able to go to those appointments to get that support. But at least that would give some time where as an adult with insurance, you would be able to go get that.
Yeah, Steve Yeager, for the record, I think that's a wonderful suggestion and would consider that to be a friendly amendment.
Oh, that is true. That's true. Assemblymember Monroe Moreno.
If you're accepting friendly amendments, and we're considering adjusting the age, perhaps the age to adjust it to is 26, because most youth that are on their parents' insurance, that's when they would drop off at age 26, when they have to get their own insurance. Just a suggestion.
Steve Yeager, for the record, I knew this was the smartest committee in the building, and you're proving me right.
While we're at it, we just shouldn't have any age limit, right? Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. Thank you again for your presentation. I will give you a few moments. We will start with testimony in support to Assembly Bill 169. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon again, Chair, Vice Chair, Committee. My name is Zach Bucher, Z-A-C-H-B-U-C-H-E-R. I'm here as a private citizen and a proud Nevadan, not representing any employer. I'm here in support of this bill. Would like to thank the Speaker for bringing it. As a young boy, I benefited greatly from speech pathology. I think it helped me well. I would hate to see anybody not receive what I did because of an adverse insurance decision. So I encourage your support, and I thank you very much for your time and wish everybody a great weekend.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City? I see 2 individuals in Las Vegas. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, Vice Chair Hadegui, and members of the Assembly Commerce and Labor Committee. My name is Jacqueline Nguyen, N-G-U-Y-E-N. I represent the Nevada State Medical Association. We'd like to thank Speaker Yeager for bringing forth this bill and really enjoyed this presentation on this, really heartfelt. NSMA is committed to providing comprehensive, effective care for their patients. We recognize that speech pathology services help improve patient outcomes and are a part of the holistic care of patients and may be cost-effective in the long run when addressing medical complications affected by speech pathology issues. Furthermore, NSMA believes that as patients seek care, all care, including speech pathology services, they deserve to have access to clear and transparent insurance policies and coverage that streamline the process of receiving treatment. For these reasons, we fully support AB 169, and thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and committee members. For the record, my name is Ryan McInerney, spelled R-Y-A-N, M-C capital I-N-E-R-N-E-Y, and I'm here today on behalf of Nevada State University in support of AB 169. Nevada State provides no-cost services to about 140 individuals per year at our 2 speech-language pathology clinics, the only clinics of their kind in Southern Nevada. Clinic faculty and graduate students diagnose and treat communication disorders and difficulties related to speech, language, voice, fluency, cognition, and swallowing, as well as provide counseling and support for individuals and their families to help them better understand and cope with their communication challenges. Speech therapy is essential for children who stutter as it provides them with strategies to improve overall communication, reduces the emotional impact of stuttering, and prevents potential negative social and academic consequences. This bill represents a significant legislative advancement in Nevada, aimed at addressing insurance barriers that impede access to adequate services for children who stutter. This bill ensures that individuals receive the comprehensive support required to manage their stuttering through evidence-based therapies, thereby fostering increased confidence and enhancing their ability to participate fully in societal activities. While Nevada State fully supports this bill, as the speaker and Ms. Larson noted, stuttering is a condition that transcends childhood, impacting individuals of all ages. And we hope this same protection can eventually, be it in this bill or in the future, be extended to all Nevadans affected by stuttering. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I don't see anyone else in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 169, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press star 9.
Hi, my name is Shauna Ross, spelled S-H-A-W-N-A-R-O-S-S. Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee, and Speaker Yeager for bringing this important legislation forward. I am here representing the Nevada Speech Language Hearing Association, and we are in full, strong support of this bill. Also, thank you to the community members that shared their stories. That was very empowering, and as a practitioner, it brought some tears to my eyes. We treat people, and then sometimes they go out and we don't see them again. So thank you for sharing your stories. I am a private practice owner in Reno. I have had my practice for 19 years, and firsthand, pretty recently, I worked with a high school student with a form of stuttering called cluttering. And while her insurance initially provided coverage, when I asked for more visits, the visits were denied. This family had the means to continue paying for the services, but not all families have that those means. And as Ms. Larson said, not all clinicians are trained and have the skills to the level to work with people who stutter. And in schools, often kids are placed in groups due to caseload barriers. And working in groups with some people who stutter is not the most beneficial for them. So again, NISH is in strong support of this bill, and thank you for your time. We're also in strong support of removing those age barriers and having supports and services covered for all people who stutter. So thank you again for your time.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sherry Bailey, S-H-E-R-I-B-A-Y-L-E-Y. I am an assistant professor of speech-language pathology at Nevada State University. I wanted to voice my support for the bill. I instruct our students here at Nevada State who are studying speech-language pathology, many of whom voiced their support on the public comments for this bill. I just wanted to echo what has already been said by my colleagues in the field, that this is a fantastic bill to fill a really strong need in the state of Nevada. Thank you to Mr. Kid Gilchrist for bringing this to everyone's attention. Thank you to everyone speaking and for your support.
Chair, the public lines are open and working, but we have no more callers at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 169. Is there anyone here in Carson City? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas broadcast. Is there anyone on the line?
Chair, there are no callers to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 169? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Adam Plain, P-L-A-I-N, with the Nevada Division of Insurance. The Nevada Division of Insurance is neutral on this bill as a matter of policy. I just wanted to mention that we do have some documents in Nellis. I believe they've been uploaded. This will be a recurring theme for us throughout the session, talking about the issue of federal defrayal payments. We did submit a couple documents, one PowerPoint, one narrative, talking about the issue, if anyone needs a refresher or a briefing. But we did want to make a clear legislative record on this bill that we currently do not evaluate this bill as triggering defrayal under federal guidelines. I do have an analysis on Nellis explaining our reasoning, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't think we have any questions. Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City? I don't see anyone in Las Vegas broadcast. Is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral?
Chair, there are no callers to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Speaker Yeager, would you like to give any final remarks?
Steve Yeager for the record. Thank you, Chair. I did want to bring everyone back up to the table. It just, I was really moved by the testimony, and you know, we get to do some really good things in this building, and so I just wanted to recognize the individuals who were here, and especially Mr. Kid Gilchrist, because he lives in Washington D.C. and his wife is in her 3rd trimester. And when he told me that, I said, you know, you could appear by Zoom, or you know, you could call in. It's kind of not easy to get to Carson City from Washington, D.C. And what he told me was, no, it's really, really important. I want to be there in person. This is his first time to Northern Nevada. He's been to Las Vegas before. But I just think it, you know, really shows that dedication to this cause. And so I'm just extraordinarily grateful that he would spend time with us, and hearing Esteban's testimony as well was really moving. And so I want to thank the committee for the time on a Friday afternoon when a lot of us are thinking about how do we get on a plane back to Las Vegas for the weekend, for taking the time to consider this legislation, and you know, just a reminder to everybody that what we do in this building does really matter to people. And so I just ask for positive consideration for the bill, and would certainly hand it over to anybody else who'd like to make concluding remarks before we wrap up.
I guess I just am very, very thankful for, you know, y'all to be heard today. So thank you.
Esteban Perez for the record. I just want to just thanks, guys. Like, you guys, like, it, I don't know. It just feels nice to be heard, because it's hard. Like, right now, any other person with a stutter would not want to be here right now and speak in front of a whole, yeah. So, I mean, I was a bit nervous when I said this whole spiel, but I'm glad that I said it, and just want to just thank you all for hearing all of us, and go Pack.
Well, gosh, Cheryl Larson for the record. Guess now I have to say something. And basically, thanks for the ears. This is something that I'm happy to get on a soapbox and talk about. It's become my passion, and it's ironic. When I graduated from Boulder in 1992, I actually said the words, sorry, oh, I don't want to work with people who stutter. I don't know what I do. And that's because of at the time where we were at and how it felt and how we worked with individuals who stuttered. And then somewhere along the line, that changed, and I did my own work to educate myself and went through that journey, and now I feel like I'm this advocate, and I'm not going to let it go. So thank you for sitting here during your lunchtime on a Friday when it is beautiful out there. It is a gorgeous day. Thank you.
I think I speak for myself and the entire committee. You don't have to thank us. We need to thank you. So thank you for being with us on a Friday afternoon. And Speaker, thank you for bringing this bill. I think we look forward to the amendment. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 169. I will now open up for public comment. Please address your remarks to issues that fall within the jurisdiction of this committee. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give public comment? I don't see anyone in Las Vegas broadcast. Is there anyone on the line wishing to give public comment?
If you would like to give public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. Committee members, are there any comments before we adjourn? I don't see any. This concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be on March 3rd at 1:30 p.m. This meeting's adjourned.